video games should not be about expressing skill. They should be about fun and fulfillment.
If gaming is all about fun and fulfillment, then why is it that everybody's making suggestions about removing things that are fun and fulfilling to a lot of players? That's right, last week PoE2 dropped and a lot of people have been talking about it, and a lot of players have been talking about the difficulty of the game. And in fact, in this, what I believe now deleted tweet from the Path of Exile Twitter page or X page, they noted it here. And one of the things that everybody thought was going to happen is that Asmondgold was probably going to share his thoughts on this, and he did. And to be perfectly honest, I love a lot of Asmondgold's videos, but the fact of the matter is there's a lot that he said in this video that I highly disagree with, and I've never, ever wanted to respond to one of his videos, but this one here, I disagreed with a lot of his points. That being said, if I don't talk about one of the points that he made in the video, I probably agreed with it or didn't care about it one way or the other. So let's get into it. In the video, Asmondgold wants to start off talking about the currency in the game and how new players should get more of it. And here's what he has to say about it.
And another big reason why I think they should add more currency for low-level players is because it teaches low-level players how to use currency. You're giving them these things. Wow, I keep getting these orbs of alteration. Maybe I should use them.
So he believes that by providing more currency for new players, it will make them think. It will trigger that thought in their head that makes them go, oh, I have a lot of this in my inventory. I should use it. However, what he is not thinking about right now is that there are plenty of players out there right now who already have that happening and don't use that. And they're just like, man, I just wish I had a bunch of gold so I could go buy stuff, instead of taking the time to use that in-game currency that they have, the orbs, the shards, and all that stuff to upgrade themselves. They're already not paying attention to the tutorial when the tutorial made them do the thing. The tutorial literally forces you to do the currency exchange in the beginning, so that way you know how it works and how it upgrades your items. But for some reason, we have to dote upon new players who already aren't using it, who in an attempt to try to make them think that, oh, maybe they should use it. I highly disagree with this. Because whenever I have something in a game, and I'll just use myself as the analogy here, and I go, I'm not using a lot of this. What do? I go and I sell it, right? I sell it and get the gold. Because I'm not using it, must be worthless to me otherwise, so I'll just sell it and get gold, and hopefully that gold will get me that really, really good skill or weapon or upgrade or whatever that I want if I would have just paid attention to the tutorial. You see, the problem here with the currency has little to do with the amount of currency that's dropping on the ground, and more to do with the fact that the tutorial probably didn't explain things well. Now, I would offer an alternative to what Asmondgold said. Instead of just increasing the drop rate for new players, what you do is maybe for the first 20 or so items that you pick up, shards, orbs, whatever, maybe you put in there and say, hey, by the way, you just picked an upgrade item. Go look at it in your inventory and upgrade your stuff. Give hints and constantly remind new players who want those hints turned on that they can go do this. Some players probably didn't pay attention to the tutorial, and that's why they're finding it really, really hard. Moving on, the next thing that he said that just made me just, what the hell, was this.
I understand that people want the difficulty of the game to be very high, but this is the first act in the game, and you have people that are brand new to the game. It is not necessary for the third boss in the game to kill you in 3 hits.
So there is no reason for Act 1 bosses to be able to kill you in 3 hits. What? And he's like, this. He goes on to say that this has never happened. You know, other games don't have this. It's never happened. Dude, it's called a damage check. Many games have damage checks. Hell, I remember Pokemon Gold with, what was her name? She had the Miltank. I can't remember her name. Pokemon Gold had a damage check in it. Legend of Zelda has had damage checks in it. I've talked with plenty of people who've played all of the Souls game, and they're like, yeah, there are bosses there that have damage checks, but if you get really good with the controls, like, you can override the damage checks. Like, to sit there and say that new players are so bad at the game that a damage check, which is there to tell you that the damage that they're receiving happens to be outclassing their DPS and happens to be outclassing their armor, which the reason that it's there is to tell the player, it's the developer's way of telling the player, hey, go back, farm some XP, get some better gear, use that currency that you didn't pay attention to in the tutorial and upgrade yourself, come back and beat the boss. In fact, I would say this, every single one of the bosses, I tried to go at it and they probably waxed me 3 or 4 times. Then I was like, all right, I get it. This is a damage moment. I need to go. I need to upgrade myself. And I would upgrade myself. And within 2 tries, bam, the boss was done. Done. Easy. In fact, it's absolutely insane to say that a boss in the beginning part of the game can't put a damage check on you. That's ridiculous. Most games out there do that. And when he said that other games don't, he goes, that's wild. I've played tons of games where I was like, oh, wow, I can't beat this guy, so I need to go back out. I need to farm some XP, upgrade my armor, upgrade my DPS, come back in and fight the boss at a later time. Like I said, if Pokemon can have damage checks in it, maybe, just maybe, an M-rated game can have damage checks to tell the people, which is the point of damage checks, to go upgrade themselves. Again, ridiculous argument that there was no reason for it in Act 1. Absolutely preposterous that you can't use a boss to let characters know that they need to upgrade. The next thing that he said, and I don't really need to touch on this a whole lot, he talked about secondary quests. So that way new players could go out and they would have more opportunities to go out and farm gear and farm equipment.
Give players more secondary quests that give rewards that make them able to kill the bosses easier.
But yet, going back to that currency that he said that people weren't using, which again, I think is a tutorial problem, not a drop rate problem, you don't need second quests. This is an ARPG. If the box waxes you, go out, farm some XP, farm some new items. You can always teleport back to the home base, back to the starting town, so that way you can go and upgrade your stuff, sell what you need to, unlock what you need to. They give you the scrolls as a quality of life out in the field, so you don't have to go back, right? He said something about, yeah, everybody's saying, oh, they should just get rid of the wisdom scrolls. They make no sense. You can get it for free. It's like, yeah, but I don't always want to go back to the town when I try to learn about an item or unlock the item or whatever it's called, so that way I can see what it is. In fact, one of them I did in the field. I'm really glad I did, because it turns out it had a lot of stats that really helped me in a boss fight. So again, I don't think secondary quests are needed, because the game is already designed for you to go out and get different drops and get different things. The game already has it. Why add more? You don't need secondary quests for more drops. It just doesn't make any sense at all. The next thing he came up with was a little ridiculous. He had 2 things he had to say here, and it has to do with the body blocking that the mobs will catch you in. And trust me, the mobs can catch you in a lot of these, and it does suck when they bum rush you. But here's his take on it.
All it takes, getting body blocked is literally a skill issue. Positioning is a skill gap and should be in the game. I don't think so. I think it's unfun, and it just causes people to have a negative experience in the game.
And he goes on to talk about, oh, it's not a skill thing. This isn't a skill thing. You shouldn't have to do that. And then, however, after a commenter leaves a comment, he then says this.
Body blocking's fine. I think it's garbage. And having the tools to get out of body blocking is also fine. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's basically what I'm saying.
So, I don't know if Asmond knows this, but the developers put in your skill sets in the game ways to get out of that. In fact, one of the ways that I get out of it, and I'm really bad with names and stuff, but I use a flip iceberg move. It spawns the locust, the ice locust thing or whatever. Then I stomp on the ground, freezing the area, blows up my locust, causes extra freezing damage. Then I use a lightning orb, and then I use the lightning smash that comes with the monk, and I essentially eviscerate the mob that has now body blocked me and put me in the corner. The developers have put this and so many other things in the game for you to get around it, that you saying, well, it's just not fun, and then you to backtrack on that and say, well, yeah, I'm just saying you need to have a way to get out of it. Like, you do. And yeah, early on in the game, you can say it might be a little frustrating, but problem solving does come into effect when you're playing games. And if you know, oh, hey, there's a mob over there, maybe I shouldn't just rush in and try to face tank everything. Maybe I should play it a little smart, hang back, try to kite some of these enemies over here into a more favorable position for me. Again, if you're saying that players are so dumb that they can't problem solve themselves, why are we playing games? That's half the fun of playing a game, is problem solving. It makes absolutely no sense. All of this being said, I think that Asmondgold made a bunch of absolutely bad arguments here. All of this would do is it would overpower players in the beginning of the game, assuming that they even paid attention to the tutorial to use the currency. Then on top of that, it gets rid of any of the reason that you would even need to use the skill upgrades. If you don't have damage checks early in the game to let you know that you need to upgrade your equipment and your skills, like a hard boss to fight, why give them the extra upgrade orbs, right? I mean, they're not using them anyway. I was watching a channel, very, very great channel. I found him through Path of Exile. The guy said a bunch of members of his family are playing, you know, his wife, his dad, his brother, and all these people. And he did a tips video just recently. And one of the tips was, yeah, they were all having trouble with bosses. And he's like, wait, did you guys use your upgrade items? Did you go in and use your upgrade items? And they go, oh, no, we didn't. So if the developers are taking the time to put all of this stuff into the game, and players, whether through their lack of paying attention, their lack of being able to problem solve, or just the fact that they're too lazy to see the other mechanics in the game, why ask the developers to add more into the game when they've already given you everything that you need to handle the situations there? It makes absolutely no sense. I couldn't understand a lot of these arguments. I still don't understand a lot of these arguments. They just don't make sense to me at all. Now, that being said, a lot of people are saying they're having issues with melee. They just don't think melee. I didn't really choose a melee character. I'm kind of turning my monk into a ice lightning battle mage. And so I do kind of have ranged attacks and stuff like that I use. So if there's melee that's wrong, that's a broken mechanic. Fix the broken mechanics. Kind of like what they're doing with a lot of the OP skills that are coming out, like that hammer move that you can do that just one taps bosses, which is absolutely insane. Again, all of these things have already been solved for, but you can't hold the player's hand all the way through the game. In fact, games that do that are very annoying because they don't trust you to take over. They don't trust you to make your own decisions. They don't trust you to problem solve your way through it. It makes zero sense. And to be perfectly honest, all of the stuff that he mentioned, when you figure out a way to get past that boss because you upgrade your stuff and you're like, oh man, he waxed me good, and you go back and you wax him good, you're like, yeah, that is fun and that is fulfilling. When those mobs rush you the first time, they back you up into a corner and you can't get out of it, and you go, oh man, and the next time you go back and you're prepared for it and you figure out how to get past it, that is fun. That is fulfilling. You feel like you've accomplished something. You feel like, man, I was really bad at this part of the game, but now I'm good at this part of the game because I learned, because I took myself to the next level. I honestly think asking the developers to do any of this at this point, why? For what reason? They've already given you the tools that you're not using. And I know there are going to be some people like, oh, you sound like a big gatekeeper. Dude, I'm not gatekeeping anybody, but if you can't figure out how to upgrade your armor and skills in an ARPG, you've already gatekept yourself. Thank you all so much for tuning in to this. Like I said, I just saw this video and I wanted to react to it. I thought there were a lot of bad arguments here. Again, the developers have done a decent job. My background is I've never played Path of Exile 1. I've never played any of the Diablo games. In fact, the only ARPG that I can remember that I even played for a little bit of time was Ghost Lore. It's an indie ARPG that came out a little while back. It was like 15 bucks on Steam. It's pretty fun. I saw a friend of mine playing it. I checked it out. It was okay. But it didn't get its hooks into me like PoE 2 did. Outside of that, I've played open world games. I've played action RPGs. I've played hack and slashes and stuff like that. So a little bit of the mechanics that are all involved in this game, I've experienced all of them before, even class building and stuff like that. So this game just kind of makes sense from that because, well, I mean, I haven't played a lot of games in my lifetime, but I've played enough games since I was like 10 years old till now to understand how a lot of this works. Again, the developers have already put all this in there. Asmondgold came out with some really bunk arguments here. I think a lot of his other arguments for some other things are actually pretty decent. For instance, to help newer players, having like that build guide. So when the really high tier guys get up there and go, guys, this build really works. And they can basically copy that and put that into a build list. So that way people go, oh, what build list should I follow? When they go and they look at it and they can just kind of copy and paste it into the game. I think that's a freaking great idea. I really, really do for the import export stuff. Outside of that, thank you so much for checking out A Drink with Crazy. I appreciate you guys. I got some merch links down below. Check those out if you're interested. And as always, until next time, cheers, everybody.